A demigod destined for grandeur, Achilles was. He was born to a king and a sea nymph. He was also taught hunting, music, and medicine by the centaur Chiron, just like the fabled Heracles before him. He contended that the Trojans would retreat at the mere sight of Achilles. He launched himself into combat, leaving a path of corpses behind him. Before long, every Trojan had either escaped or died. With the exception of Hector, the conflict was eventually won by the Greeks. However, during the conflict, each side lost some of the greatest warriors of their day, and even as their tales became legendary, their fervor turned to heartache, who was wearing the armor that had not kept Patroclus safe. Although their spears collided, Achilles was aware of the armor's weakness. Achilles consented as long as Patroclus stayed far of Troy's gates, which were guarded by the god Apollo. Nothing seemed holy now, even if it was a horrible crime to deny him a funeral. While mocking the Trojans, he pulled the body behind his chariot. Achilles saw Patroclus' ghost at night, alerting him to the imminence of his demise and requesting that their bones be interred together. Achilles consented and attempted to give him a hug, but the ghost vanished. In the meantime, sadness also plagued the Trojan ruler, Priam. At last, he made the decision to approach Achilles and request his forgiveness. He offered to pay for Hector's body and kiss the hands that killed his son. They ate together and cried together. Achilles asked Patroclus for forgiveness and returned Hector's body. And he went back to fight, defeating even the best fighters, having nothing left to lose. Achilles, however, would not survive for long, as Patroclus had foreseen. Some claim that Paris used an arrow directed by Apollo to strike his heel. Achilles dressed Patroclus in the armor and prayed that he would return safely. Leading a swarm of Greeks, the disguised Patroclus drove the Trojans away. And he felt as untouchable as Achilles himself for a few priceless seconds. He bounded toward Troy until Apollo smote him, removing his armor. Hector took advantage of the situation, taking Achilles' armor and Patroclus' life. At the same time, Patroclus, a human with neither heavenly ancestry or lofty predictions associated with his name, had been his best friend since childhood. The two had an unwavering affection for one another in spite of their disparities. Achilles, however, was a vital weapon when Greece launched war on Troy. Paris, a Trojan prince, and Helen, the wife of a Greek monarch, had disappeared to Troy. Determining to get her back, a Greek army gathered. Furthermore, the gods themselves sided with one side and quarreled over the destiny of the mortals as battle approached. Achilles was aware that fighting was a part of his fate, and he prepared himself with a spear crafted from a mountain top and horses sprung from the west wind. However, Patroclus was at his side, so he wouldn't be alone. Together with 1,186 other ships, they set sail for Troy and charged into combat. The powerful Prince Hector, son of King Priam and brother of Paris, led the Trojans. However, Achilles' skillful hitting gave the Greeks the upper hand, and they were no match for him. Some said that Achilles' mother bathed him in ambrosia, the nectar of immortality, or that she dipped him in the Styx, making him unbeatable. Despite his skill, internal strife solidified as the battle dragged on for 9 years. Achilles captured a lady named Briseis early on. However, King Agamemnon, the commander of the Greek army, had become envious of Achilles and had taken Briseis for himself. Achilles went on strike because he was furious, and without him, things got really bad. Patroclus saw the slaughter for himself. Achilles still declined to engage in combat, though. When Patroclus saw the Trojans approaching the Greek camp, he became alarmed and begged Achilles to give him his armor. Achilles, overcome with grief and shame, determined to wait for retribution before burying his lover. He exacted his wrath with a lethal blow. Nevertheless, his sorrow and rage remained unsatisfied. Achilles took Hector's body in his hands. For all eternity, the corpses of Patroclus and Achilles were mixed together.